gentlemen, we are live. It is November 22nd in the year of 2022. My name is Sean Phillips, and as always, I am joined alongside my two co-hosts, Mr. Andrew Van Beber and Travis Kirkendall, and together we are the Voice of Reason podcast. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this lovely Tuesday evening in November?
Fantastic. I'm glad to see your beautiful face again. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's good to have all three of us on the show. We're a day late. That's my fault.
No, that actually worked out better for me. And
yeah, it worked out great. And Travis, I can tell that you've been stuck up like cell phone power poles because you're radiating green 5G, like radiation, and but you're also like freaking tan. You're like tan, man.
I got a little bit of windburn. A little bit of windburn going on.
That's not a little bit. That's a lot bit of windburn. That's not a little bit. That's a lot bit.
That's how it goes in the winter.
V, how are things going for you as you're kind of winding down into Thanksgiving break?
We're doing great. Going from basketball coach to basketball dad has been, it's really a different journey. On the other side of the bench now, and enjoying watching my daughter and my former players play has been great. But I just was telling Travis before we came on, we have been. I mean, it used to be when I coached junior high, back when you guys were still in school, and I coached junior high. Basketball season began in November and went to February. Well, now basketball begins in the middle of October and is done by December. So we have 3 and 4 nights a week, and it really beats the crap out of you. But at the same time, we're done by December. At Christmas break, you're done. You don't have to worry about practicing over Christmas. But we've been doing good. It's been a great week, and we're ready for Thanksgiving break. How about you, fellas?
I'm definitely ready for it. It's looking like I'll have this will be my last day at work this week. Be off tomorrow and Friday, and yeah, it'd be a much needed break. I think her grandmother is coming from Venezuela, 92 years old.
Oh, fantastic!
So we're super excited to have her. We'll probably have a small family dinner here with her dad and her and possibly her cousin, but it's kind of all our plans for the weekend.
And Travis, you haven't met her grandmother yet, have you?
No, not yet.
Cool, man. That's exciting. That's how about any luck? I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but are any of our other like siblings or other family members able to come up for the holidays? I know some of them have kind of had some issues getting stateside in the first place, so I just wasn't sure if that had changed at all.
No change. Still visa issues and no real clear path on where to go from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it sounds like her grandma can come up. That's
good news.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
So what's Thanksgiving going to look like for you then this year, Sean?
So it's going to be pretty lowbrow. We're going to have it up here. Have some local friends that and coworkers that we met up here come to our humble abode. I'm going to do some cooking, put some football on and Paw Patrol on, just so everyone in the house is,
let me know what that sounds like.
Yeah, right. But no, it should be good. I'm really excited. The last week was going into December gets crazy busy as well. So I'm excited to get to spend time with the girls. Super excited about that. It'll be a lot of fun. This previous week, I was in Vegas for work, which was cool. I'd never been to Vegas before.
Really?
So I got to see things that I hadn't seen. But Vegas, in the idea of Vegas, what Vegas is, the gambling, the cocaine, the prostitutes, just really isn't my bag. It's really not what I am into.
So
but the one thing I was into, I got to enjoy, which was Barry Manilow.
I saw that.
Was bar none one of. I had seen him a handful of years back, and I think he is hit his prime in turning 80. Man, it was a good show.
80? Wow.
80. Yeah, he's 80.
Wow.
And so that was good. And then I got back home, and then like literally, we landed in Burbank at the airport. We drove straight from Burbank to one of the casinos that we have MMA at. Produced an MMA show. Drove home next day. Was at Warner Brothers for television, so it was like really, really crazy. And so I have the Thanksgiving break, and then that kind of starts back up again. Beginning of December, I have a pretty long drill weekend, and then
I was wondering why you shaved.
Tapings. Yeah. Well, this was for TV. This was for Warner Brothers.
Okay.
For the show that I'm on. My character does not have a beard, so I am a young.
Yeah, look, I was going to say,
man,
look at that, look at that baby face. Look at that baby face. I haven't seen that face since high school like that.
Yeah, no,
the droop is really in.
The droop is really out whenever it's it's all shaved. But yeah, no. Other than that, other than just things being busy, California's treating us very well. It's cool. We get a mix of the fall colors and palm trees at the same time, which is unique. My girls are both happy and healthy, so I got nothing to complain about up here, man. My dog's still just fatter today than he was yesterday, but other than that, that's I haven't failed any of my classes yet, so I can't complain. Put it that way. Can't complain right now. Things are good.
That's good. Well, Travis, why don't you take us? And the title of tonight's show is "We're Going Crypto," and this is one of those shows that I get to sit back and watch you guys do the heavy lifting and kind of get us a little bit, get our feet dabbled in. Some of you may have heard of the FTX crypto issue that happened. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. November 11th is when they filed bankruptcy.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and lead us into that, Travis? Tell us a little bit about what's going on with that, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so FTX is a crypto exchange. A crypto exchange is a platform where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies. There's numerous ones, FTX being one of them. There's one called Uphold, Coinbase, which is a public company you can buy shares of. Crypto.com. Sean, you're familiar with them. They got the stadium out there. And is it Los Angeles or is that Las Vegas?
It's LA.
I got that one.
Yep. It's here, Tom. The Crypto.com arena, otherwise known as the Staples Center for,
Yeah. Which rumors are that Crypto.com may experience something bad soon. I don't know details on that though. But anyway, so there's multiple.
I'll touch on that in a little bit.
You got stuff on that? Cool. So yeah, it's just like, I guess compare it to like say a Robinhood or like a Merrill Lynch or someplace you can buy stock. A crypto exchange is like the equivalent of that for crypto. So here's some key takeaways for this FTX issue that happened. So cryptocurrency exchange FTX collapsed in early November 22 following a report by CoinDesk highlighting potential leverage and solvency concerns involving trading with Almada Research. FTX faced a liquidity crisis and searched for bailout funds. And when that happened, Binance, which is another big cryptocurrency exchange I forgot to mention there, we're talking about buying portions of the company to bail them out. But it was like less than 24 hours they saw the books and saw everything. They completely backed out of the deal. And then after that happened, the company declared bankruptcy, and FTX's CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, I don't know how you say his name, he backed down and went away to the Bahamas. So this is where things start to get interesting. And you'll have to bear with me. I got a ton of articles pulled up here. So let's see. So they declared bankruptcy. And when they declared bankruptcy, there was a bunch of funds that went missing. And apparently they reported a hack of $473 million that just went missing. They can't seem to find it. That's not including all the money that was lost. So here we go. FTX top 50 creditors are owed $3.1 billion. and there could be as many as 100 million creditors total, like across the board of FTX's funds. So FTX is in deep. Now this guy, Sean, he ended up getting arrested, right? They ended up finally arresting him.
No, they have not. He is chilling in the Bahamas still.
I thought he got arrested. Okay, so this guy is still in the Bahamas and has not been arrested yet.
This
What
is
was something
this
else
is
then?
you're talking about the CEO of FTX,
The ex CEO,
the ex
yes.
CEO. Okay.
And he was one of the founders. Like I think he was the founder of one of the founders of the FTX exchange. And then I found a really good article here that kind of talked about the craziness of behind the scenes here. Bear with me as I try to find this. Okay.
So as you're talking about this, I'll go ahead and share this week's survey results. This week's survey question was: do you feel that cryptocurrency is a viable currency for the future? We are going to get into this a little bit later on, but 31% said yes, 44% said no. Our good friend Reed Leak said Bitcoin, yes. Many others will eventually lose all value and credibility, such as Terra Luna and, as he said, FTX due to unethical management. And then our friend
Yes.
Sarah Rutherford said no, unless a regulatory body is appointed. So yes, our friend Reed Leak, which I believe he's in financials as well, is he not?
I believe Reed does dispatching
Yeah.
for dispatching for trucks. I think that's what we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does dispatching. Um, God, I lost this article here, but it talked about all. Oh, here we go. All right. So some information came out. Sam Bankman-Fried and a lot of the top associates, they had some really bad spending habits on top of losing a bunch of money, and they lost a bunch of money when Terra Luna collapsed, which I believe, who was it? Reed that commented on that,
Yes.
or
Yes. Yes.
Terra Luna was another crypto company, and they had a coin called US Terra, I think it was. It's a stable coin. And what a stable coin is a cryptocurrency that's supposed to be pegged to the dollar. So for every one Terra, there's supposed to be $1. Uh, that got completely messed up. A bunch of people pulled their money out, and from I'm probably going to butcher this, but what happened was people started panicking when it began the coin began getting depegged from the dollar. So it started showing up as worth 97 cents, 92 cents. And then people started pulling their money out. And on top of that, the algorithm that runs that coin started printing like crazy. And it went from being worth $1 to $1. People lost millions and billions like that.
According to this, it says Terra Luna Classic price today, as of November 21st,
Yeah, that company's screwed.
Yeah, 0.000166. That's a definite downward trend, I would say.
Okay, so to go back to FTX's spending habits. So Sam Bankman-Fried and a lot of these top executives, some of their spending include 300 million splurge on Bahamas real estate. And there's more details on this, but basically they were doing here we go. 300 million spent on real estate is mostly used to buy mansions and beachfront vacation properties for him and his FTX executives. The purchases went undisclosed during the months for a long time. Pretty much until this whole came out about them filing bankruptcy and losing a bunch of investors' money. So basically, you look at all this, what happened with FTX, and retouched on Terra Luna, which was another crypto, and then there was also one called Celsius. Celsius ended up filing for bankruptcy, and they lost investors a bunch of money as well. You're seeing a lot of this happen in crypto, and Sarah made a good point. Part of the problem with crypto is there's no real regulatory body that overlooks crypto. There's no real regulation in the U.S. for it, and there's a lot of debate on whether crypto falls under the SEC or the CFTC. And that's been a kind of a back and forth battle that's been going on for the past, I'd say, 2 years. And right now, it's been the STC's been running things. But there's been a lot of issues with that. For starters, I mean, a lot of people are blaming the chairman, Gary Gensler, for allowing this to happen because this has happened 3 times this year, and we still have no regulation really on crypto. There's still really no repercussions for any of these companies that I've seen. I mean, we see that this CEO is still in the Bahamas. We see retail investors losing a shit ton of money. And there's some other interesting stuff with this FTX thing. Sean, you might have numbers on this, but FTX was the second largest donor to the Biden campaign and the Democratic campaign of the last election. No?
Yeah, well, to the Democratic Party. So
Okay.
there was a total of in 2021. The 2020. My understanding was so far, and this was as of today, they have traced $70 million of FTX money donated to the Democratic Party, and I think the number that I saw was 40 million was donated to Joe Biden's campaign directly, and the remaining 30 million would have been for other Democratic candidates across the United States, making him the first or second largest Democratic um, Party donor during 2020 into 2021. So, because a lot of this was continuing to ramble in as we got into the election season this year. Um, yeah, so to kind of like blanket things that for some people that might kind of be lost, to really break down. So everyone, so Sam Bankman Fried, whatever you want to call him. The easy way is SBF is kind of like how people have been referring to him. So think of Elizabeth Holmes when we think SBF. And if you don't know who Elizabeth Holmes is, she was, oh gosh, I forget, it was maybe a little over a decade ago now, the creator of Theranos. This was the young lady who like carbon copied herself to be like a Steve Jobs reincarnation, right? Theranos was this company that could essentially take a prick of your blood and then do all the same exact tests that an expensive medical lab that takes your blood would do all those tests. Like they were claiming that it could screen for cancer, that it could screen for Alzheimer's, that it could do all these different things, and had even worked with had signed like a $500 million deal with Walgreens to put one of her machines into a Walgreens in every single Walgreens across the United States. What came to be found out true, and mind you, there were some very very wealthy individuals. One being Nancy Pelosi, who lost hundreds of millions, close to hundreds of millions of dollars investing money into Theranos, right? And it turned out that it was all a big sham. The technology could not do what it wanted to do. It wasn't even close to being able to do what it wanted to do. And as of less than a week ago, Elizabeth Holmes was finally sentenced to 11 years in prison for her involvement with everything, right? So Sam Bankman-Fried, it's a similar situation, right? There was, when we look at these cryptos, and Travis, to go back to the crypto.com thing, right? So to kind of make it a blanket statement so that it might be a bit easier to understand, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, right? There are some of them that have an actual anchor, which is what gives them value, right? So, like, for example, Bitcoin has to be mined. There's a certain cap limit of how much Bitcoin is minted at any given time. Someone can't just go and create 10,000 Bitcoin out of thin air just so that they have a bunch of Bitcoin worth, I
And
think
only
right now.
21 million will ever be made.
Right, right. So there is a certain point where there's a cap. So meaning that digital currency has a value, right? Like it's there's an appreciated value to what it is versus some of these others that we've seen these kind of like pump and sell. Think of like your Dogecoin, your Shiba Inu, right? Where essentially they can be minted and printed at any point in time, right? So they can just be created and created and created and created, and there's no real like cap. So that's why there was a time where they would get pumped and sold. So that's where we saw like Dogecoin rose up to like 32 cents, and a bunch of people made thousands and thousands of dollars.
Can I add
Yes, you
something
can.
really quick?
Mhm.
Just to give people perspective, 589 trillion. That's the amount of Shiba Inu coins. So
By
if
the
you're
way,
thinking of like a good investment,
our
I
friend
would.
our friend Devin Linton just said go Shiba Inu. So
Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so to blanket that, right? These are pump and sell, pump and sell. So the problem is we have these cryptocurrency exchanges, okay? FTX Crypto.com is another one where they mint and print their own cryptocurrency. So I think FTX's was called like Fit or something like that. I don't know the exact name of it, but essentially Crypto.com, very similar thing. They have you sign up for Crypto.com and you get, you know, $10 worth of their token. I think it's like CRO or CRY or something like that. I don't know the exact.
It was FTT was the FTX token.
FTT was FTX.
And crypto.com's is Crow.
Crow, yeah, CRO. So they essentially can mint and print their own coins at any time, essentially giving themselves value. That is what happened with FTX. Is they had continuously printed their own cryptocurrency, and when it came to a lot of the assets that they gave to investors, that they stated they falsely claimed that these were assets they had, but they had created these. So think of it as they literally a snap of the fingers, and they were like, "Oh, we now have $200 million worth of assets behind our company," where in actuality that was not the truth. They just literally printed or created this digital currency out of anywhere and told investors this is what they had, hence getting investment money to come in and more people to buy into their crypto. So like Travis, did you say that it peaked out at like a no, you guys were just talking about Terra Luna when it crashed from $1, correct? Is that what you were just talking about?
Yeah, how it depegged.
So the same thing, similar for this crypto, was it had this perceived value because it was like, oh, great, it's doing really well. But part of the reason why there was this crash was they realized, oh, they just created all of this. And that is the quote unquote investment money they had. So people realized they really didn't have anything, and it pumped and essentially crashed the market. Now, this isn't just like a regular, like a stock market crash. Okay. Part of the reason is this individual, SBF, Sam Bankman Fried, lied to investors. Okay. So these are a couple things I pulled today. So this is what was found out as of a couple of hours ago that I was able to pull. So SBF, Sam Bankman Fried's parents own 19 homes in the Bahamas worth $121 million. Okay. On top of that, so this is a statistic. This one's not brand new today, but in 2021, okay, so just last year, FTX funded, okay, with investment money and crowdsourcing money, $420.69 million. Okay, 420.69 million US dollars worth of these assets. 300 million, okay, 300 million US dollars of that went to Sam Bankman Fried personally, okay, which even for a lot of these like big CEOs that we talk about making money, that is astronomical, because that's not even taking into consideration other money that he was quote unquote paid from the company. Okay, this is just what he himself personally pocketed from investors. This was investment money that was supposed to go to the company that went directly to him. Now, Travis had just mentioned earlier, one of the other issues is there is currently 1 billion outstanding client funds that are just missing. They are just gone. $1 billion. Okay, so this is why I'm actually surprised that SBF isn't. So the prison thing is it's a messy situation, because here's the thing. I don't know, Travis. I'm not sure if you have anything. Before I get it wrong, my understanding is the government of the Bahamas seized all remaining assets of FTX. So like whatever that was left apparently is now owned by the government of the Bahamas.
I read something like
Yeah,
that. Yes.
Yes.
I saw that too.
And so here's the thing. There's two other things that I have found interesting, right? So if any of you guys do follow crypto, or one thing you guys might hear about when there is an issue, so like when Terra Luna collapsed, right? Um, there were a lot of cryptocurrency markets that got into a lot of trouble because they were freezing people's assets, meaning they were not able to pull their assets out, right? So let's
That's
say,
what happened with Celsius too.
yes. So let's say, for example, let's say you have a dollar and you have $10,000 in the bank, right? But all of a sudden that number starts to tick down and down and down as it sits in the bank, right? Because it's being invested, quote unquote. And all of a sudden that you find out your dollar is starting to be worth 90 cents, 80 cents, 70 cents, 60 cents. You're literally watching it tick down in real time. In theory, you would want to pull that out, right? So that, to keep its value at whatever it was. But here they were freezing the assets. So people were watching their money just tick, 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 go down. And they froze the account so that they couldn't pull it out. So people got in trouble with that for Terra Luna. And the reason being was people were like, we want to sell, sell, sell. But these companies were like, oh shit, we have a bunch of money invested into Terra Luna. And now we don't have assets because we pumped so much of our investor money into this crypto that's now crashing. We have to do some finagling, which is essentially why that kind of stuff happens. So
question.
FTX, yeah.
So, and I'll have a lot more questions later, but so I want to go back to something that Travis had said. So there is, am I correct in asking this, that there's no regulation, because with the SEC, what the SEC would have done in a situation like that would have stopped trading altogether and to stop a free fall. But so they're not under anybody's under anybody's watch at all, correct?
My understanding is no. At least I don't think there's any current regulations like that. The only thing that I'm aware of is that like when you buy sell, it is similar to stocks in that way that I think you have to pay your taxes on your gains, if I'm not mistaken.
You do. It's taxable.
At least in the States.
It is getting more attention in Congress. I think Biden actually just called like an emergency meeting on this. I mean, there's actually I want to say there's a team in the House that's been working on, or at least the Senate that's been working on trying to get some laws passed. But right now, I mean, the only thing that the SEC has been really doing, and again, there's really they've been using what's called the Howey test, which has been around since I think it was a court case in 1946. I'm reading here. Hank would know more about what a Howey test is, but it's basically determining what is a security and what is a commodity. And they're using this outdated system to determine whether these cryptocurrencies are securities or if they're commodities. And that's really the only thing that the SEC is going off of. And a lot of companies, I mean, there's a lot of companies you can look at and say, yeah, that's probably a security because a company is benefiting from this, as opposed to, well, that's probably a commodity because whatever company is running this network, or maybe there is no company running this network. No one's really, there's no, I guess, third party interest, I guess you could say.
Travis, to speak
so that's
to
what we need.
To speak to, and I just brought this article up. Business Weekly says, as the Biden administration has worked in recent months to develop cryptocurrency regulations, the U.S. government finds itself caught between two extremes, unwilling to actively block cryptocurrency transactions for fear of restricting a growing and potentially lucrative industry, but also determined not to give up completely on policing illegal cryptocurrency payments and going after their role in cybercrime, in the cybercrime ecosystem, as what we saw happen 2 weeks ago. And they said in a recent executive order and subsequent strategy documents, President Biden has pledged to both support development of cryptocurrencies and to restrict their illegal uses, two goals that the United States has long struggled to reconcile when it comes to digital money.
So I guess that's a good way to get into the next part of this conversation is the future of cryptocurrency. We see China is working towards a digital currency, creating the digital yuan. They're talking about creating the digital euro. A lot of companies or not companies, a lot of countries are moving towards digital currencies. And eventually, I mean, the Federal Reserve, I was reading a couple days ago, they're doing a test. I forget the name of it, but they're basically testing a, a, a digital federal currency, whatever that is. If it's a crypto dollar, whatever you want to call it. So
Anyone
they
who's
are
going to have
testing it.
first dibs on it? Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Right?
So, Devin,
They've been talking about it for a long time now. It's gonna happen.
a couple of comments that we had on our board here. Devin said, according to what you were saying earlier, he said a similar occurrence to what happened in Robinhood, but with GameStop, different circumstance. And then Reed Leak just came on and said Terra Luna dropped from $86 to, like we said, 0.0016 in a matter of a week. And unbelievably, the CEO made a new coin called Terra Luna 2.0.
Yeah.
So, okay, so as a novice, I'm not even going to say myself at novice level because I'm still trying to understand. And maybe the first question that I can pose to you guys is, why cryptocurrency? What is it? Because I mean, is there more? Do they believe it's more about stability, or what's the draw for cryptocurrency over legal tender, regular currency, anything like that?
It depends on what it is. Um, I would say a good crypto is one that's solving a real world payment issue. Um, there's a lot of cryptos, what they're going to, unless it's like a gaming coin or something stupid, a lot of what I believe real cryptos are doing is trying to improve upon what our current financial system is. So, for example, I'm just going to throw a coin out there. There's a US company called Ripple, and they have a coin, they have a network called XRP. And what the company tries to do is improve cross-border payments, which can usually take a very long time. It can be very expensive.
So
That's moving.
a standard currency for any country to use between each other.
Yeah, but it's like they can use their own currencies, but they transfer money through the network
Okay.
of if that I don't know if that makes any sense,
Yes,
but
it
it's
does.
basically
Yeah.
okay, and it's much faster.
It
So
helps, it helps everyone have their own Swedish bank.
right? And so say we wanted to move money from country to country like that. It would take usually, I would imagine, days. There'd be a lot of banking fees involved, because that's how banks get their money, by those transaction fees and things like that. Well, something like XRP, that transaction can happen in a matter of seconds, and the transaction fee is literally pennies on the dollar. That's just one example. I mean, there's a
So
lot of other cryptos that are solving problems as
so
well.
so in essence then it's basically it's taking out the middleman in transaction. What impact is this going to have on the banking industry then? If cryptocurrency really takes off, what impact is this going to have on the banking industry then?
Oh, it'll have a huge impact. And that's one thing I wonder about. I don't know what the future of banks would look like if we were to transition to something like this. I will say, in the case of what I'm talking about with this company, Ripple, for example, I know Bank of America is like heavily invested with them. They have like a partnership. So, what Bank of America looks to gain from something like this and how the future of their banking system would look, I don't know. But I know it's something other banks have been looking into. Um, just from research that I've done. There's also other like there's some cryptos that are so for example, why crypto? Another reason I pulled this up for you when you were telling me about this earlier. Give me 1 second.
Well, and I'll go ahead while you're looking that up, because I've looked at crypto and I saw my when we were on vacation last year. We went to Gulf Shores, Alabama. It was somewhere, I want to say it was either around, it was in Nashville or Birmingham or something like that. We were in a gas station, and I actually saw a Bitcoin. It looked like it was a Bitcoin ATM,
Yeah.
and so so is that a place like like a currency exchange then, or what would that be?
I don't know how those work at a gas station. I've
I
never
that, that I was
purchased.
just like I was like, okay, how does this work? That would have
I'm
been.
assuming it would. I'm assuming it's something that you could like. Man, I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
I don't either.
I mostly use exchanges. But to answer your another question of why crypto.
Hmm.
So when we look at fiat currency,
Right. Money that
what is
has
the US dollar?
money
What
that
is the US dollar backed by?
nothing. I mean, it is exactly what you say it is. It's a fiat currency. It's not backed by the. It's what gives the dollar its value is it's basically its purchasing. I mean, what it can buy is what it can buy.
And that is one of the big reasons why people get in the crypto. It's a loss of trust in the current fiat system and fiat currencies. I mean, if you look at the amount of dollars that have just been printed in the last
Yeah.
2 years, 10 years, I
Because
mean, it's like we're printing this dollar into oblivion. And
and to me, it's what people do not get. And we've had this discussion when we've talked about minimum wage and everything. Every time that the dollar is losing, I mean, buying power. When you look at just basic, your, I mean, they're talking like, I know this sounds weird, but phasing out coins. Why? Because they're, can you buy anything with a penny anymore?
no,
You can't.
no.
So you can't. And so I can see that, but do you,
And that's one of the driving forces of Bitcoin too, is because going back to what we said earlier, only 21 million Bitcoin can ever be produced ever. You can't just print more Bitcoin like you can print a dollar. So there's the supply demand factor. It goes into Bitcoin, which is why people see it long term as like a digital gold per se, because it gets its value based off of how
hello?
little the supply is and how
Are we all there?
I'm
Hello?
here.
Okay, there we go. We had a hang up there for a second. So basically, it's going to help more with the stability of the currency. It's going to make the current. It wants its goal is to make the currency market more stable. Then,
What, cryptos?
yes,
Uh, More efficient, I think is a better way of putting it. And then
okay.
like there's also talks of like if there was a US digital dollar, what would that look like? And then how would it be backed? I've seen talks of people saying the new digital dollar would go back to the gold standard. It would be a complete switch in the financial system.
Oh,
What that would look like, God only knows, because I mean, I don't know how you make that transition. I mean, think of all the money that's in circulation right now, and to just have a new whole financial system take over. I don't know what that looks like. And again, we're getting really speculative here on what could even happen.
well, I just when I look at the stability of money, one thing that what blew my mind. So I go back to 10 years ago when we went to this has happened to me twice actually. When I went to China and when I went to Costa Rica. And when we were in China, we were there for 2 weeks. We actually made money when we came back from China because in a 2 week time frame, the exchange rate had jumped up like it was almost like 50 cents on from and to me that really struck me as weird is like okay if there's this much movement in a currency market. I mean, and of course, people make money off of investing in currencies like that. I mean, that's buying and selling currencies. So
Yeah.
I guess my greatest fear, and this was the conversation we had before we went on, Sean, was when Odell Beckham Jr. when he signed his contract extension with the Rams, and I forgot how much it was he was originally paid, and then what you just said was like at the end of the year his Bitcoin value was down to like you said like $38,000. I mean, so that maybe that's my greatest fear. If we sink into this and America buys into the crypto market, Travis, what kind of will we see a surge in market value of the Bitcoin if more people buy in, or what effect would that have?
I mean, yeah, of course you'll see a surge. I mean, if there's a greater demand, obviously I would see the price goes up. And also too, the Bitcoin halves every 4 years. And what that means is the amount of Bitcoin that can be created through the mining process gets halved. So say you were able to make, just throw numbers, say you were able to make 10,000 Bitcoin every 4 years. Now after the halving, now you can only make 5,000 in that 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it was created that way so that way you couldn't just pump the system in a way. It's the part of the inflation mitigation there.
Yeah, I saw an article that says they think that by 2140 is when they think that all Bitcoin will eventually be mined, all 21 million worth of it.
Yeah,
because of the halving process. Because like right now, I just read like 19 million of the of Bitcoin have been mined, but because of, as Travis just went on, like
the numbers just get smaller and smaller and smaller.
That's why there's like the argument of, is mining Bitcoin in this economy currently worth it, because of like the amount of electricity that a computer would use and like the amount of money that you'd have to put into a computer that has the ability to mine Bitcoin. They say is the trade-off there of like what you can actually mine. Is it worth it based on how much you spend on electricity with it? It's like, well, maybe if you had a really nice solar setup or whatever it might be, like that would be the only way to make it profitable.
I'm curious if they ever finish actually mining Bitcoin because of that.
So
like
please bring me up to, okay, so now you're talking again, so now you're bringing up another term that I'm not familiar with. When you say mining Bitcoin, exactly what does that all include?
To kind of really make it in a super layman's terms, okay, when you quote unquote mine Bitcoin, you essentially are connecting your computer to what's called like the blockchain, right? Where data and information is passing through your computer. So think of it this way. Again, this isn't exactly how it works, but I just want to like try to make it, think of, there's this circle of networks that is just exchanging information. Okay. By mining Bitcoin, you put your computer into that circle. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now information gets sent and receives into your computer. Now, I'm not going to act like an expert and say I know what kind of information or what. I don't know. But I know that your computer essentially is connected to a network that shares information. And by being involved in that network that shares information, you are rewarded with Bitcoin. Okay. That is you mining this. That is you mining, like, boom, you're part of this network that's sitting here hacking away. And your reward is fragments of Bitcoin.
So we're talking very minuscule amounts at a time.
I'm talking like tiny fragments, which is why I say like your electric bill might be $1,000 at the end of the month, and you might have only mined $200 worth of Bitcoin.
Okay.
I can read something here really quick that might explain it too. So it's the process by which Bitcoin transactions are verified and recorded on the blockchain. Bitcoin miners use powerful computers to complete complex mathematical functions called hashes. And there's a method of transaction verification known as proof of work, because it's showing that they have completed these equations, these math problems to verify the new block on the Bitcoin transactions.
So now comes out my TV nerddom, because, and I'm going to sound totally ignorant when I say this, but there's this episode on Big Bang Theory where they had found a some kind of logarithm that they were able to find, that they were able to plug in, that they were able to mine more Bitcoin. So is it possible that there could be a hack to this?
From what I've read on Bitcoin, Bitcoin is unhackable.
Okay.
No one's been able to hack Bitcoin. The security measures on it. That's the interesting thing about Bitcoin. Nobody knows who even created it. There's a name, Satoshi Nakamoto, I believe. Nobody knows who this person is, if they're even real. I mean, some people have speculated it's Elon Musk. Some people have speculated it's Putin in Russia. There's a lot of names that get thrown around, but nobody actually knows who created Bitcoin.
And V, to kind of piggyback off what you said, you and I watched two very different Big Bang theories, because the Big Bang theory that I was watching the other day,
I might have got it messed up. I got it messed up.
A couple of big old hogs, all in one thing. Oh, I was thinking the Big Bang orgy is what I was thinking of, when they. My bad. But no, I know what show. I do know what show you're talking about.
Oh my! You had me. Oh my God! You hooked me so hard on that one.
But no, yeah,
I might be watching too much Pornhub.
Well, no, it's November. You can't be watching it during November.
No,
yeah,
it's not. It's not Lent or anything. Come on.
It's not November.
It's not November. Come on now.
Oh man.
But God. No. So as Travis was saying, yes, Satoshi Nakamoto is like a pseudonym for whomever. So there's speculation whether or not it's an actual singular person or a group of people. But essentially, like, yeah, they've kind of, whomever it is, they're also whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is also like the single largest holder of Bitcoin, with like over 1 million of actual
that's right.
fragments of Bitcoin. I think of it literally kind of like Banksy. Like, is it one person or is it a couple of people? Like, no one really knows, and who knows if anyone's ever really going to know. But I mean, you're right. There's like a bunch of people that they don't know, or who it could be, or if it's a government, because we know how governments can be. I actually learned today that fun fact. TikTok is not available in China, even though China created TikTok, but China has their own version of TikTok. But instead of
crazy,
videos of people singing and shitting in the street, they're like, it's from like certain ages. So like from like when you can get on TikTok at the youngest age, like a certain point, it's not bullshit videos. It's like mathematics videos, science experiments you can do at home. It's like educational. So like, the Chinese government created TikTok, gave it to the rest of the world, doesn't let their citizens use it, and the TikTok version that they have is educational.
Well, Devin Linton, oh, you son of a bitch!
Yeah,
Devin Linton just called it off. Devin Linton just said titled V's Dong coin.
That's a good. I would buy that coin. That's a good investment. But no, so one thing I wanted to piggyback, because I didn't want to go too far off it, but just something that is interesting, because the government of the Bahamas had seized assets, and all of the FTX assets went into the Bahamian government wallet. From my understanding, if I'm reading this correctly, the government of the Bahamas is now the single largest owner of Ethereum, which is another pretty stable, pretty safe digital currency that exists. But also, so this is where things get really interesting with FTX. So I don't know if you guys kind of remember, like, one of the first things that was talked about, like kind of after everything came out, was like about the CEO and everything. Because mind you, the CEO, like SBF, is very similar to like Elon Musk, where he's just like on Twitter, like, yeah, fucked up guys, sorry, LOL. Like, no joke. That's how he talks about this situation.
Wow.
But so when I was talking about how the assets were frozen, right, and just like Devin had said, Robinhood froze assets so that you can withdraw your money because it was tanking and they had to protect investors. So there was FTX froze assets to where you could not withdraw. No one on FTX could withdraw, except for a group of individuals in the Bahamas. So what I mean by that is the SBF and his cronies, the 19, 20 people that lived out there, were able to withdraw their digital assets out of FTX, which was hundreds of millions of dollars pulled from there, where other people could not. So, but I remember like when things first started coming out, like it was almost that weird, like, when we talk about like eyes wide shut parties, like it was like a bunch of super nerds having orgies in the Bahamas. Like that's like kind of like the first thing. I don't know if you guys had seen any of that.
Yeah,
like,
I was just reading something about that.
Yeah, that's kind of like the first wave of it. And people were like, okay, what are we talking about? And then all of a sudden, all the rest of the information came out. Because this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, he's 29, 28, something like that. Or like,
yeah,
he's super young. The people that were with him in the Bahamas were also just as young. So, if not younger. Again,
this is going to be a hell of a Netflix movie someday.
Yes.
Oh my God!
I was just thinking
it is
that.
120% going to be an insane Netflix movie. But here's my thing. And
I feel like
Travis
this is going to be
talking
like
about
Kid
this.
Cannabis meets Wolf of Wall Street kind of movie.
100%. Travis and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, my money is if old SBF isn't arrested, he will be suicided pretty quickly. I feel like that there's a lot of investors that have lost some insane amounts of money that you don't just get to casually go to the grocery store in the Bahamas anymore with. Like, he's kind of on a ticker, if you want my opinion.
But see, and so again, there arises, because if some, I mean, that's in, by every intent and purpose. I mean, it's not like insider trading, but it's that same kind of thing where you've got the inside track, and I know that something's happening, so I'm going to give myself the advantage and my 20 friends and pull out. And to me, the concern that the concern that I have with this, and okay, so I'm the old guy in the room now, and I'll put my old guy too. And you're saying eventually, Travis, a statement that you made earlier, or maybe it was Sean who said it, about eventually having digital currency be backed up by a gold standard, correct?
Yeah, potentially.
When I look back, so from a historian standpoint, when you look at what happened with our currency market under a gold standard and how dependent, what that did with prices, what that did with, because that, to me, that only, what that signals to me is that would further so you're basically saying, okay, we're going to have as much Bitcoin, or we're going to have as much digital currency as we do have gold to back it up. I mean, is that the idea?
If it was to be backed by gold, yeah, I would assume that it would be a 1-to-1.
And so my concern with that then is going to be, if we were to go then to a digital currency, then what's that going to do with? What would that do with prices? I mean, we would be, to me, we're in the same. We would be in the same mess, but just with a different label on it. Is that too naive to say that, or is that a possible?
I think what the goal is. I think I follow what you're saying. I think the idea of it being backed by gold, and maybe not just gold, but like
any value,
the currency, whatever. Yeah, it needs to be backed by something that's real and not just the fact that there's only 21 million or 21 billion or whatever. Yeah. Here's a piece of paper that says we'll pay you back for that $20 bill. Like, I think the idea is getting back to something that's backed by something real. And again, I don't know if it is gold. I don't know what the Federal Reserve or the government has in mind for the future of this. I just, when I do my research and I see what the Federal Reserve is doing right now, and when I'm seeing what other countries are doing right now, it looks like a digital currency is coming. And I understand people's concerns. I'm concerned too. Privacy is a big one. Like, okay, if we're all on this digital network, how do I know that my transactions are private
and are secure?
Yeah, exactly. These are legitimate concerns. And I think if this is going to happen, there's a lot of things that need to get addressed, and it's definitely going to be a shakeup. I don't know how the U.S. is going to do it. Maybe they don't do it. I mean, it's cryptocurrency is a very speculative market, just speculative in general.
Well, so I mean,
Um,
so is the currency market as far as that goes. But
yeah, of course. I,
anything that's within market trading, though, I always have to. It, I don't know. I have a lot of questions that are swirling around in my mind and how to formulate them because there's just I'm still
and
trying
of
to.
course,
I'm having a hard time still buying in and saying, okay, this is going to be a safe alternative to cash when we've operated on a cash system since the days of, I mean,
yeah, of course.
bartering. I mean, say, hey, I give you this for this, and now we use, I mean, people really started questioning currency after the Great Depression when Roosevelt started saying, okay, instead of saying we're going to have $1 worth of gold back up every dollar, we're now going to say, well, whatever it was, 50 cents, 57, I think it was like 57 or 58 cents worth of gold was going to back up every dollar now. And then what was it, 1975, 76, Nick, or it was either
Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Nixon took us off the gold standard altogether, and then everything just went back crazy over. I mean, prices and everything just went. We saw a hype, some hyperinflation, and people didn't know quite how to react to that and how to deal with.
And the
Um,
debt
yeah,
just
well,
skyrocketed.
yeah, and we were talking, and that was the other thing too. We were talking about congressional power to print money the other day, and so the kids were if you really want to feel really scared about things, go to usdebtclock.org and look at that projected debt 2026. They are
It's
projecting by
terrifying.
$41 trillion, and
It's terrifying.
it's a lot of it is tied to the worth of you know the worth of the dollar. So I mean, in that sense, I can see, okay, we need a stable currency that will level things out. I can get that.
And I've thought about that, and this is a conversation for a different day. But I remember back in the day, like when this was years ago. I feel like, Travis, when we were juniors, seniors, around that time, I feel like the debt clock was somewhere between 10 and 13 trillion.
I
I feel
can
like that's where it
keep on talking. I'll
was.
tell you. Give me a
I
second.
But
think it was like high teens.
what was it might have jumped up that one, but I feel like I remember the first time that I had ever looked at it, it was somewhere around like 13. I feel like
Yeah, it
that
was
name
when we were in
is
V's class
sticking out
because
to
Yeah.
me.
V's the one that showed it to us.
Yeah, he always used to show us his balls and the but no, what I remember, or what I've thought about, right? So like all of this debt, and and everywhere that it's supposedly owed to. One of the big ones we always talk about is China, right? Like we owe all this money to
Mm.
China. We owe all this money to China. Do you think we're kind of at that point though with our own leverage, like where China's like, oh, well, you owe us $20 trillion? Are we at that same point with the leverage of like, well, if you stop selling to us, if you like, you guys are also just as screwed as we would be? Like, are we at that point yet, or do you not think that's the case?
What I see, well, the latest number. Well, first of all, let me show this to our folks who are watching. So, just what we're referencing is this right here. So, this is what, if you go to usdebtclock.org, this is what you will see. We are currently at 31 trillion and change. What year did you guys?
Woo!
What year did you guys graduate?
14.
All right. So, if I look at the debt clock from, so the closest, like, let's go with 2012. 2012, the debt was at 15 trillion. Okay.
So we have overspent $16 trillion.
Yes. And so the but so 2026, and it depends on who you go to. According to US debt clock, and I brought this up right now. According to US debt clock, by 2026 it's at 41 trillion. The Office of Management and Budget has us at 36 trillion, and then the Congressional Budget Office, which is Congress's office, 35. And so to me that's very optimistic and saying, okay, well, but going back to what you were saying though, Sean, I think that if I'm not mistaken, the amount of that we owe China is not as much as what we owe to ourselves through people who invest in like what and treasury bills and bonds, and I think that's
Yeah.
who our largest debtor, if I'm not mistaken, it is in the United States right now. Let me look that up because last time I checked,
That wouldn't surprise me.
because we
Well, we operate on a debt-based system, so
yes,
that wouldn't surprise me one bit.
because who we owe our debt to is, and of course China does purchase a lot of that debt though, just like any other, because it's just like any other, like when one bank buys out another bank's debt, and I mean they're doing that as a means to make money. But as far as who we most debt to, it would be as of who owns the U.S. national debt, and this is from thebalance.com. Oh, Japan is the largest holder of U.S. debt at 1.24 trillion right
Whoa.
now. China is at 900. China is at 967.8 billion. But yeah, and then the UK is there at third at 615. So again, it's about people buying the debt, and so yeah, whenever the government's getting ready to do more, to do increased spending on whatever, I mean that's when they make the amount of T-bills and short-term bonds and stocks and or short-term bonds available. But the thing that I really have an issue with though is this is something that can be dealt with if government can control its spending, which is when you look at where we're spending money at and what it's being spent on, it's ridiculous.
Not if we keep sending billions to Ukraine.
Right. And that's just one example. But again, I go back to what you guys said earlier. The dollar's not really worth the paper it's printed on anymore, right? I mean,
that's why you're seeing a higher
surge
interest in crypto.
So to me, that makes and you explained something to me, and I appreciate that. And Devin just asked a question. He said, if Shiba Inu ever rose to 10 cents, would the economy be able to handle an increase of, 1 million X value, even though people would probably sell it before it got there?
I mean, yeah, if there's that many, he brings up a good point.
And that kind of is where I how many people would people stay in for the long haul? I mean, if you saw a jump like that, would you stay in?
Well, that's another reason I don't see coins like that. I don't see coins like that lasting in the long term.
Right.
I could be wrong. I mean,
well,
God
yeah,
only knows.
but
That could be. Who knows? Maybe the Federal Reserve chooses Shiba Inu to be our U.S. currency. You never know.
Well, gentlemen,
I don't know. I think with the regulations that are coming, I think there's going to be a lot of changes. Well, hopefully, I mean, I hate government, like big government decisions as much as the next person, but at the same time, where is the SEC been with all people losing their money?
Yeah.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Fucking crickets.
Yeah.
Where are our elected officials right now? Like, again, I'm not the one that's like, come on, government, take care of us. But at the same time, like,
well, go back to what's
going on right now.
I want to go back to what Sean said earlier. You joked around about Pelosi, but I kind of wonder how deep our nation's politics, how deep they are invested in this. I mean,
I will say there's some big financial players that are getting in this.
Yeah.
I mean, big time. Like, they're buying Bitcoin, they're buying these coins. I mean, it's happening.
Devin is terrible. Devin says, "Hell nah, I'm going to the Bahamas."
Well, tell him to buy me a flight. I'll go with him.
Gentlemen, it has been, as always, it's educational to me. I've learned a lot about Bitcoin and now just sink my life savings in it and just let it go to waste. I guess I don't know.
Look, I'm no expert. Am I an investor in it? Yeah, I'm pretty picky on what I put my money in with it. I mean, it's a speculative asset. I do your research on what you're investing in, and I mean, it's again, I'm not the person to sit here and explain this, although that's what we tried to do.
No, you did a great job. You
But
guys
there's
did
there's
fantastic.
there's some really great resources people can find, and just do your research. And I think at the end of the day, I won't even go there. That's all I got.
Well, I do want to thank you guys for coming on. I was interested in this tonight just because I wanted to learn. I'm still trying to get my feet underneath me about the whole digital currency scene, but definitely thank you guys for that. And so anyway,
Well, yeah, no, and thank you guys so much for sticking around. For those of you guys that listen live, thank you all so much for sticking with us and listening live, especially if now, mind you, if you guys do have any questions about anything that is crypto related, there's a ton of really good, videos on YouTube you guys can watch that can go ahead and actually educate you guys. We're not here to give you financial advice.
nope.
But we're just here to kind of speak what we know, because I can tell you between the three heads you see on here, we're all about as broke as a joke. So
Yeah,
we're just doing what we can to scrape it on.
I will only say one thing: buy the dip. I'm done.
Buy the bean dip.
fine.
Big naps. But again, thank you all so much for listening. Be a friend, tell a friend. Again, you kind of know how it works with us. We grow as we talk with you. One thing, I won't say the amount, but I can say 2 weeks ago we had discussed on the show that we are actually generating revenue from our listeners on the show, and again we couldn't do that without you guys.
Yeah. And you saying that too. I just want to, if people notice, a couple of people asked me, messaged me on our hashtag yesterday, Road to 1,000. I'm just the guy. This is the first time the guys are hearing this, but for us to totally be monetized on YouTube, we have to have 1,000 followers, and part of this is growing, and we're if we could get if those of you who follow us on Facebook, I'm just going to say this: those of you who follow us on Facebook, please go over to YouTube and give us a subscribe on YouTube. That I know there's over 500 of you guys who are out there, but go over to our YouTube page. Just do a search for Voice of Reason on Podcast 2021 on YouTube. Subscribe to us on there, because that will help us out a lot. And I don't know where Sean went. There he is.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you all so much. Fellas, it was great to talk to you guys this week. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. And enjoy the holidays.
Yeah,
everybody.
happy Thanksgiving, guys. We'll see you.